Wow. I don't think we can get any better than this, so thank you very much. Thank you. That was great. That was a great video. And this is the power of editing, people. You can turn an idiot into a star. Thank you.
Bassem, I have so many questions for you.
Yeah.
First one, رايحين فين النهارده؟
رايحين فين النهارده?
You said you were the host tonight. مش عازمنا عشاء حاجة حفلة؟
You know, Barasti, White Cavalli, you know, all of this. And then there's actually, when you go to the nightclubs, there's a certain pose. You go there and you have your glass, and you don't want to pay for alcohol because it's expensive, so you put some sort of apple cider and just sit like that, like. You want to remain cool, but it doesn't work.
You're always cool, Bassem.
Thank you.
So in all seriousness, luckily for me, this isn't the first time we're sitting on a couch. Usually I'm on the couch with you.
Yes.
بس أنت ماخذ راحتك. بس
They will get the wrong idea, yes.
But in all seriousness,
things not to say on stage. We're usually on the couch together.
Well, the truth is, I do have photographic evidence, so I will Instagram it a bit later for those of you who are
That was a
interested.
Huffington Post. يا جماعة Huffington. Let's repeat. Okay.
But in all seriousness, you've been really busy recently.
Yes.
And I'm curious, what are you up to and where are you living? I see you in Boston, I see you in Stanford, I see you in Dubai. What are you up to?
I have been actually learning the art of origami. No, that's not true. After I left Egypt, I came here and I stayed here for Dubai for a year and a half. So you missed me. And and then I went to the States. Right now we are working onto something that is quite interesting and exciting for me. Being the first ever Arab and Middle Eastern to be given the chance to host a show on American airwaves. It's called the Democracy Handbook by Fusion Network, which is part of Univision. And it is an incredible chance to be able to satirize the American political life. It's going to be an online product, YouTube, very small, 5 minutes, very low budget, so if it's bad, you can always blame it on the budget. And we discuss stuff that are extremely touchy, like religion, elections, guns, from a Middle Eastern perspective, so you can imagine. So if, for example, we're going to talk about Trump, it's like, I am not surprised. We call this Monday. And this is an incredible experience for me because I have actually had the chance to go around the United States. And I went to Flint, Michigan, for example, with the very famous water crisis. I went to one of the biggest gun shows, and I saw Americans' fascination with guns. And the thing is, when you ask Americans, would you like to remove the Second Amendment? They're like, guns in our DNA. It's like, and you call us Arabs violent? What the hell? So, and this is going to be released very soon. And I'm working with Fusion and Univision on a couple of other projects. One of them is actually making satirical sketches about Arabophobia or Islamophobia to do it from a different perspective. And
You, in all seriousness, in the US are an other.
Yes, I am an other. Yes, I am the outsider, and which is really interesting because you are in the States. Sometimes they'll give you a chance. If you are in other countries in the world, maybe they're going to put you in jail and you're going to disappear forever. But
does that factor into your show? Like, is it part of maybe the reasoning behind why Fusion is excited for
yes,
this?
because. The lovely thing about the creative process in the United States is that they want also a different perspective. They are not very comfortable about just staying and listening to themselves. So that's why someone like John Oliver, who is British, and he is satirizing American politics and basically destroying it every single week, and they accept it and they like it. And this is a totally different culture and totally different perspective. And this is why we're going to actually announce this very soon. They asked me to go to cover the convention, the Republican convention in July, as an Arab, which...
يا لهوي يعني يا لهوي.
which is great because I feel like, oh my God, this is right wing, there is bigot, there is racism, there is xenophobia. I feel like at home. And, 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 and it's going to be a great thing. And also, just to continue what you're saying about what I'm up to, there is an incredible personality, a woman called Sarah Taxler. So shout out for all the women out there because she has been through a lot. She's the senior. Shout out for all the women out there. Come on. Thank you. It's so easy. Anyway, so
but you have to do it twice. Let's be honest.
She is the senior producer of the Daily Show. And I remember 2012 when I visited Jon Stewart in the first time. She said, I would like to make a documentary about you. I said, like, okay. And she only had one documentary on her resume, which is about twisted balloons, and I would be her second. And we thought that this will be a 9-month project. With everything that happened from 2012 till I was like, till today, this continued for 4 years. And she went through a lot, paying out of her own funds, out of her own pocket. And what we were really blessed because Technicolor, which is one of the biggest companies in the world, they actually saw the trailer and said, like, we would like to go and support this movie. So they supported her, and just a couple of weeks ago, it was accepted to premiere in the Tribeca Film Festival in New York. So I'm going to be there to watch. Thank you. To watch a premiere about a story about my worthless life, which is great. And so this is something that is like, I'm being blessed. Yes, yeah, yes. The main thing that like I was really aspiring to was taken away, but there's always a way to come back and
what
to
do you
be.
mean, what do you mean taken away? I mean,
oh, you mean like to be as politically sensitive as possible, banned of course. Anyway,
yeah.
And taken away meaning stopped. To be at the age of 42 and try a totally different venue in a totally different country in a totally different language.
Yeah.
This is exciting. I might fail, but at least you have the chance to try something new in your 40s, which usually people are getting into their midlife crisis. They take a lot of medication and commit suicide. So this is great. So that's why I'm very excited for the coming phase.
And have you gone back to Egypt since you got banned?
Not since November 2014. So it's been around a year and a half.
And I'm imagining, I mean, you miss Egypt then.
I miss the mango because you cannot find Egyptian mango anywhere.
But this is why I wanted to ask. I was doing some research before, and it's.
By the way, just like the fruit in America is shit. It is mango in America is cucumber that's colored yellow, and I'm very dissatisfied with the service. Yes.
Was there anything else that surprised you beyond the rotten fruit in America?
No, no. There's a lot. No, America.
There's a lot going on now beyond the racism and Trump and all this stuff.
Of course.
At this time, for you to be doing this kind of a show, someone who far exceeded. I mean, for those of you who may not know, it's pretty staggering. Like Jon Stewart, which you're likened to. You're the Arab Jon Stewart, of course. He has what, 5 million viewers, 3 million viewers for his shows at his peak. You had 30 million viewers in the region watching your show. So to go from that to doing this in America at this time when there's so much tension around Arab issues, Muslim issues, I mean, is that something that factors into what you're actually doing? Yes,
because I have to say that what's happening right now in America and with the lunacy of the right wing of America is not really that far of what we're having in the Middle East. I mean, you look at America and you find them progressing from Ronald Reagan to George W. Bush to the Tea Party to Sarah Palin. It's only logical to end up with Donald Trump and Ben Carson. It's only, you reap what you sow.
So you're not surprised, though?
Absolutely. I mean, the same thing. You come here, you find like radical jihadists, you go to Qaeda, and then you end up with ISIS, which like Qaeda now is like, looks like M&M candies next to ISIS. So once you go this path of like, I am better than you, I am more patriotic than you, I am more religious than you, I am more American, Arab, Muslim than you, you really can't stop that freight train. And this is actually causing a lot of disruptions in both sides. So this is basically mirror image. The only difference is They're blonde and they speak English and they have much more expensive suits, but it is the same thing. But and that's why I wasn't surprised. I was very I was able to draw a lot of similarities. Actually, one of the days that I was there, I was inside a Trump rally in a small town in Georgia, and I was there. And I found myself actually cheering, "بالروح بالدم نفديك يا Trump," and people were like, "Yeah,
So people know,
America."
do they know who you are when you're there? ولا لا?
For them, I'm just another brown guy who wants to be a right wing, and it is the people who know me who are the people who actually follow Jon Stewart. So in a little town, Atlanta, in a Trump rally, I was lucky that people didn't know me. So. And I was actually, it was very interesting watching him speak. But you know what? Trump is not the issue.
Right.
He just gave a voice to a lot of stupid people.
Yeah, he's a conduit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I'm not scared of Trump. You actually should be worried of the kind of support that you've got. We shouldn't be scared of ISIS. We should scared about the kind of support that you might actually find on social media.
Yeah.
This is the base, because these people, the guy was there on the podium and he was saying, right, and I'm not making this up, the biggest clap, that stand ovation, the biggest cheering that he got, I mean, he was saying like, "We're gonna repeal Obamacare. We're gonna build the wall." The biggest there was, "We're gonna bring back Christmas."
Wait, Christmas?
Yes. Where the hell did it go? And the thing, seriously, I mean, I was asking people outside, and I was asking them specifically, what kind of policies that you agree with Trump? And they were saying bullshit. And they were saying stuff that doesn't make any sense. One of the things was, he's gonna make the military great again. How many countries do you want to invade more? You're everywhere. It's just like, it's great. It doesn't make sense. And the fact is like, yeah, we want Christianity to be back in America. This is a secular constitution. يا بنت الإيه يا ولية. ما فيش فايدة. There is nothing. And yeah, so it is a lot of fun. And as a matter of fact, if you translate this empty rhetoric, you find it very familiar. هنبقى كده إيه ما تعرفش. But anyways, yes.
So everyone knows you were a doctor before you became a media
Sadly,
personality.
yes.
Sadly, but this is the reason I'm asking, not only were you a doctor, you were a surgeon as well.
Yes, heart surgeon.
Yeah, so there are,
Yeah, baby.
yeah. I mean, that's a pretty sexy profession, no?
I know.
Being a heart surgeon.
Youssef, Bassem Youssef, yes. Yeah, shaken, not stirred, yes.
But in all seriousness, I mean, you were a heart surgeon. I'm assuming you were making some good money.
In Egypt, no. As a young surgeon, you are a slave to the big doctor. You start making money. Yani, by now, I should be making like money, but I missed my chance and I missed my show, so I'm basically screwed on both sides.
But the reason I'm asking you is because, you know, there's a lot of parents, especially here in the Arab world, who say, "Oh, I want my son to be a doctor. I want my son to be a lawyer." You were a doctor. You were a surgeon. And then you decided to go into media. Like, even my family, they're like, "We wished you would have been a doctor, but you chose journalism." And I'm in Lawal, I chose journalism. Why make that switch to begin with? What compelled you to start?
Well, I mean, there's like a small story behind it. Like, as the revolution was happening, I was waiting for my immigration paper, H1 visa, if you're familiar with, to go to Cleveland. And nothing tells how excited you are to leave the freaking country like being excited like to going to Cleveland, because it's Cleveland. Yeah. Anyways, even at that time, LeBron James actually left the Cavaliers. But anyways, and the thing is, I was doing this on the side with my friend Tariq Azaz. We were saying at that time, you have to go back a little bit to 2011. Guys, 2011, there were hardly any original Arabic content on YouTube. None. But to have someone to talk to the camera with his face and actually doing commentary, that was unheard of.
Yeah.
America was already there 4 or 5 years ago, but there it was nothing. So I was doing this, waiting for my papers basing. I was actually doing that stuff in the room, and I'm going to my hospital shifts. because my mom didn't want me to leave medicine. So you have
See,
to...
I told you.
Of course, in that sense, yeah, we are like Italians or Jewish people in Brooklyn. We are not going to leave our profession. To say you're going to leave being a doctor, going to be a comedian, this is something unheard of. But...
So you knew you were taking a risk?
I was taking a risk, but I found it fun. And then it just took a life of its own. And to actually, and just 3 months later, I remember that May 2011, the H1 visa finally came through. So I had the H1 visa in my hand, and I had the first TV deal in the other hand.
Tough choice.
So should I actually continue healing young children's hearts and serving humanity, or should I choose money?
But one could argue that the second choice was also maybe healing certain people.
It was a lot of money. And here I am on the couch with you.
Again.
Yes.
Again. So obviously satire is a very powerful format.
Yes.
But particularly when it comes to online and digital.
Yes.
In the Arab world, it's kind of taken over a life of its own.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well,
and why did you start that way? Is it important to start that way? Is it possible to start in the kind of modern framework of kind of corporate media in the Arab world?
can I answer this with a presentation?
You can.
Okay, so I'm going to do something right now. I'm going to play. This is something a little bit unusual because this is something that you would play a presentation and then you say thank you and then it's over. So this is, I like this picture because it's colorful and you would think that you're in Comic-Con, and I can actually ask you a question like find the missing boob. But anyways, so this is basically for the fans in the Middle East. I mean, we need to listen carefully, basically. Because what's happening in the Middle East now in the last 5 years, you like the GIFs, right? Anyway, so and what's happening in the last 5 years is very important. Because what happened was, to understand the fans, we need to understand the people. So what are the people looking for? What happened the last 5 years? Something amazing happening now. There are roads and leeways that was not happening before 2011. People now think that they have less trust in governments. They feel that they have their own free authority, and they have the duty to change society. I mean, I'm not going to go into every single bar, but these are like trends that impossible to measure before 2011. These trends are increasing, and they are affecting what we see, and they're affecting what we are producing, and we're affecting what people are reacting to every single day on social media and on television. Yes. The power that people have now has been changing every single item of what we're saying. People that now, you would think that you will ask someone in the Middle East, you will not believe that more than 70% thinking that we are going to be a much more liberal society.
Yeah.
You will not think that like
Do you think that?
I think it's happening. It's suppressed right now, but it's actually going to change. You would not think that people would have a much more engagement of how they want to change society, change the world, and that they don't believe that these color bars that like look very nice, they actually reflect the fact that they don't think that the government is doing enough, and that they would need to take their power in their own hands. So let us see what have those youth literally did with their fingertips. And I'm not going to go, because this is a much longer presentation, but just recently, these fingertips, they helped into changing a puppet into a $40 million industry and stopping a megastar from being on television, just through social media. And this is just a couple of examples. There are, like, the examples can go forever. So that's why people need to listen, because you cannot run your media the same way that you're running it in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Where the people who made the calls were the producers behind closed doors. People need to listen carefully, and you need to listen differently in every region. For example, if you are in Saudi Arabia, Twitter is huge. If you are in Egypt, Facebook is bigger. If you're in United Arab Emirates, Instagram is huge. So you need to listen, to know where you're listening, who you're listening to, not just a couple of influencers. This is, as I said, this is taking a life of its own. And that's why it has been reflecting on how people are viewing things. For example, in 2014, the time spent on television was 32%, and advertisement cut with 32%. Time spent on internet is 27%, advertisement is 9%. It is expected in 2009 that television is going to grow by 1 or 2%, and digital is going to grow by double. And this is huge. This is happening like every day, and this is, and that's why people who are making content need to know what people are watching. You would think in a conservative region like ours that religion programs is huge. It's actually one of the lowest.
Yeah.
People want to go through comedy and satire more than anything, and entertainment. And because they feel that they have been cheated and by the establishment of the media, because you cannot sit through a show for 2 hours, someone standing behind a desk shouting to the camera and taking phone calls. This belongs to the 80s, and it's happening, and it has been dropped. The first, as a matter of, in Egypt right now, the first talk show on the rating is rated number 25 after all the entertainment. It used to be number 1 and 2 and 3.
So what does this mean for the region?
Well, and this is the conclusion, that you need to listen carefully. There is a huge disparity of what we consume and what we are producing, 2.5 times. We are actually producing 2% of the global internet content, and we are consuming 7%.
We meaning?
MENA, the Middle East and North Africa. This is huge. And the thing is, if you don't listen to the fans, they are going to hate you, they're going to cut you to pieces. That's why you need to listen to them. That's why now people are thinking, why am I spending all this money on television shows where I can get an internet star and get even a much more traction? And I'm saying this especially in Egypt. Just in the last couple of months, 3 or 4 digital heroes came and became now on television. And the usual media is fading away. So that's why there's been reflecting into financial problems, into managerial problems, and they're going away. So and I know they have to do this with thank you, and I just want to thank DJSay, that my company who actually did that with me, and thank you. So you can do it, and we can continue. Thank you. Yes.
It's refreshing, Bassem, to be very honest. You know, when I interview people in the region who are even half as successful as you, they tend to be less optimistic. Why do you think people are pessimistic? I mean, you seem pretty optimistic.
Oh no, I'm very pessimistic. I just don't want to make it down. Now, here's the thing.
But it's true.
Here's the thing.
The perception is.
I think it is. History could not be measured with days and months. We are living into it right now, and we think, oh my God, what's happening? We're going down the drain. You know what? We might be. But it is a part of the usual evolution of how things are. Nobody asked in the American independence days, on the second year, oh my God, it's going down the drain. It was bad. It took some time, and they recovered. You really need to make a lot of house cleaning, and this takes time. And I'm not talking about authority. I'm talking about society, perceptions, mentalities, ideologies. This is stuff that has been put into our heads for 60 years, 70 years. You are against a systematic way of changing your thought for 70 years. You're not going to change this in 18 days. You're not going to change this in a couple of years. And when you change it, you're going to have a lot of resistance. That's why I'm optimistic, because more than 70 to 70% of the population in the Arab world is below the age of 40. They cannot be governed and controlled by the same propaganda methods that have been used by the 1950s and 60s. You can tell people stuff and they can believe it. Yes, people believe that, but that's why our parents do that, because they're used to 1960s propagandists. It's not happening. I mean, show of hands who people think that We actually captured the commander of the American fleet. People in Egypt believe that because somebody said it on television. And people go through this.
Right.
And this is why the first step of recovering is to abandon the old ways, and it's happening and it's on its way out. The question is how long and how painful.
Right. On that note, I have a lot of young Arabs who I talk to who are big fans of yours, and for example, a 15-year-old kid in Saudi, if he wants to pursue something like what you've accomplished in Egypt, but he looks at you and he says, Bassem Youssef had all this success, now he's in America doing his comedy on a digital platform because he can't do it in Egypt.
Yes.
And obviously Saudi is less restrictive, or even more restrictive arguably than Egypt. Marafsh if you would agree with that, but it's up.
Yes.
But
Okay.
the point being, I mean, what would you say to those kids? Because as much as they're hopeful and you've inspired them, there's a lot of kind of disillusionment still about certain regressions. And the mere fact that you are now doing what made you so idolized and appreciated in America because you can't do it at home. I mean, what would you say to that kid in Saudi?
Well, here's the thing. Neither me or you can say anything to this kid because this 15-year-old kid has his own inspiration and he has his own will. These people are not looking at, they're looking at us as an example, but you know what?
At you.
Yeah, but they might. But he might look at me and think, well, I'm going to be better than him.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty of young people. They don't care. And they're stupid. And that's lovely. Because they are so idealistic and they can actually go, it's like, we are living in an age now where young people can find their own voice and they can make a change and run like waves into the authority that used to control all of this. This is amazing. To have their voice and to be able to produce their own narratives. That's a very powerful thing that we didn't have maybe 10 years ago. Just one little, Diana Badar from YouTube said that in the Arab world, we have, in 2014, we had 300 million views. We are only second to the United States. This is how big it is.
Right.
And every scream starts with a whisper. So it takes time.
So you obviously didn't necessarily set out to accomplish what you were accomplishing with all your comedy and you know, the show. But why do you think you were as successful as you were? Well, I mean, in many ways, you're kind of a phenomenon.
ربنا يخليك.
No, but it's true.
والله العظيم. أو النبي.
So humble. Beyond being humble and hilarious and the green eyes, why do you think you were so successful?
ربنا يخليك يا رب. Okay, here's the thing. I think what we did, and might actually sound strange, the first thing that we did, that we walked away of the way business was usually done. We have actually fired, we had a team in the beginning, all veteran media people, and we fired all of them. And we had young people with passion and a will to make a change. What we did, and this is very important, and because a lot of comparisons happening now is like about comedy after the Al Barnamij was banned. It is not because they're not sharing the same success because I was funnier than them. Most of these people are much funnier than I am. What we did is that we utilize comedy to talk what's important to the daily lives of people. If it was politics, we talked about politics. If it was corruption, we talked about corruption. What's happening now, because unfortunately media is controlled and affected by money and money is affected by authority, they don't want any headaches. So they want to play it safe. And this is what happens. When you do this, comedy does not become a method to change. It becomes a method of distraction because you are ignoring the elephant in the room. And if this big the elephant is, you are talking about something in that corner and does not touch the people. And that's why people feel that they are cheated. And this is not the comedy that so it's not that I was successful. It was the direction. If comedy, I remember something that Jon Stewart told me once. I was telling him I'm having a problem. Sometimes I want to do something that's heavy, but it is not as funny. And he said this. You need to make a choice. Do you want to make comedy, or you want to make something that would live much longer? And it's like, that's it. This is what really matters to the people. If you touch the people's minds and hearts, and you talk to them where you respect them, you're not the king's gesture. You are someone, you are a tool for the people, not a tool by authority. Big difference.
Well, in a sense, I mean, you could argue that you and Trump have something in common then.
I am not orange.
It's true, and your hair is real, but really, in all seriousness, that you're saying he's just channeling what the people feel in America, maybe, or like, you know, a very popular sentiment. And in some ways, you were channeling what a lot of Egyptians were feeling in Egypt, in terms of their disillusionment, their frustration with authority, with the military, with...
Yes, but there is a difference between working on people's needs to speak up,
Yeah.
and inciting people's hate and xenophobia. Totally two different things.
Yeah,
Because with this narrative,
Of course.
Hitler has also been channeling the people's will. It is very different of like you making a comedy as a vehicle for people speaking their mind, because comedy and hate speech they don't mix. They don't mix. They don't. This
They
is
don't
different.
mix.
They don't. It doesn't work. Yes.
So what do you make of these restrictive measures, not just in Egypt? When you're talking about freedom of speech, since your show has been banned, and across the region, I mean, if we're to speak quite frankly,
Yes.
there's been a shift, perhaps as a result of people like you and people who've tried to push those boundaries. To some people, it feels like we've moved further back and people are being punished for basic expression.
Again, this is a process. I say this in every single conference I say. Change, revolution is not an event, it's not a date. If you talk about the French Revolution, you just have a date for formalities and have a national holiday. But it's a process. It takes time, you take changes, there are regressions, there are defeats. But at the end of the time, the only way to move is forward. It could be painful, take time, but it's a process. And in the end of the day, people will remember the most memorable date, but things didn't happen on that date. Look at history, look at everything. I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit about more general right now. One of the most common questions that I have when I travel, they look at me, oh, you're from the Middle East. Oh, what's happening there? Are you, you're like a whole fights and civil war and stuff. Like, come on. 70 years ago, you guys were killing each other for fascism, and 100 years before, you killing each other for God. We're just doing both of them in the same time, just to save time.
ما نحن we're efficient. We're efficient.
Yeah, we're just more efficient. We really need to applaud Arabic efficiency. I mean, seriously, guys, we are extremely efficient. I mean, look, for example, and I know that we use the example of Donald Trump a lot. I mean, they are spending $5 billion in the American election to end up with Donald Trump. We here, we have a couple of guns and he is the best president in the world and فيا خلاص يا معلم. Save money, save time. Amazing. Amazing. And I'm talking about Uganda, of course. But anyway, يعني efficiency كده وخلص. نستنى بقى primaries وdebates وكلام من ده وبتاع.
So غير الدوكيومنتري.
الحمد لله.
Other than the documentary, other than the show on Fusion,
yes.
What are you excited about that's coming up next?
I cannot say because no, there's something I'm very excited on, but I don't want to jinx it. And if it happens, I'll be very happy. And if it happens, like I will announce it. But like right now, I mean.
But you were teaching at Harvard. You maybe
you're
at
talking
Stanford.
Yes, I was teaching at Harvard like a nice course. It's called the Joke is Mitre than the Sword, and I was talking to people about a very interesting topic for me, at least. It's how political satire can disrupt political, social, sexual, and religious taboos in the Middle East. It is a powerful tool, and the students were engaged, and they're amazing. Yes.
Why is it so powerful?
Here's the thing about satire, which is lovely. all authorities in the world, it doesn't matter if you're in a third world country or first world country, all the authorities in the world have only one agenda, one item in the agenda, is to keep people in check. They want you to keep control. They will use all the different tools. One of the most effective tools is fear. They want you to be afraid. You could be afraid of an invasion, of the rapture, whatever. They want you afraid all the time. You want afraid of the terrorist because I'm a better terrorist, whatever. The thing about satire, which is lovely, is that satire takes a step back. It's like, this is bullshit. And when you are afraid, you basically cancel your rational thinking. When you satirize, you look at it and you say, it doesn't work. And this is why satire is very dangerous for authority. Because it's like a little kid down there laughing at your face and say like, you didn't get me, it doesn't work. And a lot of people would follow that because people don't want someone to preach to them. People don't want a demagogue. Comedy is an incredible tool. And when you find comedy released and liberated, this is when you know, there is a change right now. And this is why it's dangerous, and that's why it's very important.
Is that part of your aim now? When you're going to the States, in America, you're hoping to change the country in some way?
Maybe. I mean, right now in the States, I have a different pathway, a different desire. I mean, there is rising racism and xenophobia in there. I mean, it's still a great place to live and democracy and everything, but it can affect you if you are the wrong color or the wrong accent. And I want to actually use that power to show that this could not go on. And maybe I will, just by having a small foothold in the American media, you can make these kind of changes. So being hired by a major network to actually report, I mean, you out of all people, I mean, the only difference that he's born there, I'm not, son of a bitch. But, I mean, here's a guy, and someone like Ayman Muhyiddin, those people are reporting for Vice and CNBC, and we are making the change. We are virtually not present in the American media, and those little voices are making the change. And it is very important that you view these people and say like, it's not that other stereotype. So maybe instead of enjoying 30 million people watching my show, maybe I'll do a smaller part for a much more important cause. And I think, and I think I'm happy doing that, because the last thing that I would like to do is to be used as a distraction.
Right.
So I'm very hopeful for what's happening there, and I still come to Dubai. Come and visit, عادي يعني. والله.
The last question: are you hiring?
Am I hiring? Are you hiring?
معنا I don't have a show.
والله بص, if I am hiring, you will be the first to know. بجد والله. يا باشا والله العظيم.
You guys heard it all here.
والله العظيم.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bassem Youssef.
Thank you so much.